Alright, so before we get into the video, there's been some breaking news in boxing. Josh Warrington versus Mauricio Lara 2 is official for September the 14th. And my thoughts on it, I mean, I'm actually pretty hyped for this fight, honestly. Um, Even though Mauricio Lara won fair and square against Josh Warrington, it was completely one-sided and destroyed Josh Warrington. But I mean, it's reasonable. It's reasonable to see a rematch. But the thing I kind of take offensive about this is that how come like people don't give crap to Warrington for having a rematch, but then they don't give crap to but they give crap to Wilder and for having a trilogy with Tyson Fury. Yes, Fury won the second fight, but how come you're gonna give Wilder crap for the trilogy, but you're not gonna disrespect Josh Warrington for this rematch when Josh Warrington, in my opinion, doesn't even deserve a rematch? He got beaten up badly, and then you want to just go at Wilder and say he doesn't deserve a trilogy, but then you're saying that Josh Warrington deserves a rematch. It just doesn't make any sense, and it's very odd. It's very odd. But again, I am looking forward for this fight. I mean, I'm away from my prediction. Um, but I think that it's gonna be a bit of a better fight than the last fight. Um, but just I don't know, man. And I just don't see Warrington, you know, trying like being a boxer against Mauricio Lara. But I don't know. My mind most definitely can change about that. But as of right now, it's just I don't know, man. But I am very hyped about this fight actually, and then I'm also hyped about the undercard. There's Katie Taylor versus this Han girl, uh um on the co-main, and then we got Giovanni. Not Giovanni, but Giovanni Straffon versus Maxi Hughes on there. That's gonna be a very, very, very competitive fight. I can't wait for that fight. Giovanni Straffon, you know, came from an upset win against uh, James Tennyson, and that's a very good win for him. And then Maxi Hughes, came out, from a big win against this one guy. I don't know his name, but I know that he came from a win against Joan O'Carroll, which in my opinion, I thought that Joan O'Carroll won that fight. But it's whatever. But anyways, on to the video. Hey, what's up, y'all? Preston from Fight Media 360 here. So this is a quick fantasy fight preview and prediction for Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker versus Sergey Lipinets. So before we get into all this, I would just want to say this would be a really, really good fight. Yeah, both of them coming off of knockout losses. I know y'all are probably like, oh, why are you doing, this kind of fantasy fight if, both of them coming off a loss as well. Even though they're coming off a loss, it would still be a great fight, man. This would be a brawl, dude. Again, I hope this fight happens in the future. This would be a really, really good fight. Maurice Hooker being being the boxer in the fight, and then Sergey Lipinets being the fighter with the better work rate and the body shot puncher and the more aggressive puncher. But yeah, so now we got that out the way. So now let's talk about their stats and then what they need to do to win, and then my final prediction. So let's start off with Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker. So Maurice Hooker comes into the fight, but Maurice Hooker has a record of 27 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws, 18 wins coming by way of knockout. He stands at a height of 5'11" with the 80-inch reach. So yeah. Now Sergey Lipinets. So Sergey Lipinets has a record of 16 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, 12 wins coming by way of knockout. He stands at a height of 5'7" with the 67-inch reach. And obviously, again, Maurice Hooker coming off, a loss, like a knockout loss to Virgil Ortiz, and, Sergey Lipinets coming off a knockout loss to Jaron Boots Ennis. So both of them, they did come up, came off, a knockout loss against, like a good fighter, knockout artists too. But yeah. So now we got that out the way. So now let's talk about what they need to do to win, and then my final prediction. So let's start off with Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker. So what I would like to see from Maurice Hooker is kind of like what I said in the beginning. You know how I said, Maurice being the better boxer, and Sergey Lipinets having the better work rate. So that's what I want to see from Hooker in this fight. Is I would really like to see Hooker, like, be a good technical boxer, and definitely, use your 80-inch reach over Lipinets, because he has a significant reach advantage over Lipinets, and big height advantage over Lipinets. So he needs to use that 80-inch reach over Sergey. Use your jab against Sergey. Definitely pick your shots in the outside. Because you don't want Sergey to come in, because even though Sergey again came off a loss, he still is a very good body puncher. And Sergey Lipinets is that kind of fighter who he's like that kind of fighter who just tries to drain you with body shots. And once he tires you out with body shots, that's when he starts going body to head. But Sergey Lipinets is a very good body puncher, so Hooker really needs to keep the fight in the outside. Don't let Sergey push you to the ropes. Not saying Sergey has good has good is good at cutting off the ring. He's all right at it, but not necessarily the best at it. But he can do that. So he cannot let Sergey again come up close, hit you with body shots, and drive you to the ropes, because as we all know, Maurice Hooker is like very vulnerable when it comes down to getting hit to the body. That's what happened when he fought Virgil Ortiz. I do believe it was his hand. I did see that how he hit Virgil. It was very awkward of how he hit him. I do see how it was like like a hand injury, but the first knockdown, I thought that body shot really hurt Hooker. So I think that Hooker again really needs to box Sergey Lipinets in the outside, and again use your 80-inch reach over Sergey, and really just bully Sergey in the outside, and whenever Sergey is getting in the inside, like, fight with him in the inside, because Sergey again isn't much of a head puncher. He's a very good body puncher, so he needs to really block his body when Sergey Lipinets breaks goes in and just hits him with body shots. So Maurice Hooker really needs to cover his body, but then also brawl with Lipinets, because Lipinets, he has a good chin. He does have a good chin, even though he got knocked the hell out by Jaron Ennis. He's still got a great chin. He does have a lot of heart. But I do think that Maurice Hooker's effective punches would really again affect Sergey Lipinets. So whenever Sergey again busts into the inside, and hits you with body shots, drives you to the ropes or something, brawl with him and hit him, and just keep hitting him in the inside, and then after that, go back to boxing in the outside, and then picking your shots. And if he can do that perfectly, he can definitely win this fight. But I think that just it would be very difficult for Hooker to keep him in the outside, but the thing is, Hooker is good he is a very decent fighter at boxing at mid range, but um he does struggle whenever fighters bust into the inside, and it proved in the Virgil Ortiz fight, and it definitely showed in the Jose Ramirez fight, and actually did show in the Alex Saucedo fight. Even though he won that fight clearly, Alex Saucedo was kind of having success being in the inside. So I think that Hooker needs to change that up again, box in the outside. Again, use your 80-inch reach and just really pick Sergey off and just pretty much just outbox Sergey. So that's what Maurice Hooker needs to do to win. So now for Sergey Lipinets. So what I would like to see from Sergey is kind of like what I said about Hooker. Hooker is a very vulnerable fighter when it comes down to getting hit to the body. He most definitely needs to, hit him to the body like how he does to all of his fighters, tear up that body of Hooker, make Hooker very uncomfortable when you're, fighting in the inside against Hooker. And, don't really focus on the head that much because, even though Hooker doesn't necessarily have a good chin, he has an okay chin, but his body is like very soft. So I think he really needs to focus on the body shots. And then whenever, Hooker is, putting his hands low to his body or something, go to the head, and just pretty much be the pressure fighter in the fight like how you usually are. And really just again make Maurice Hooker very uncomfortable, and make Hooker tired. Even though you haven't really seen Hooker tired, I mean you have, but it mainly came from hard body shots from fighters. That's usually how Hooker gets affected by fighters is by body shots, because again he is very vulnerable when it comes down to body shots. So he most definitely needs to rip to the body, again be a better pressure fighter. I mean, like, be the pressure fighter. And then, once Hooker's tired, if you sense that Hooker's tired, just, like, bust him to the head, and then body, of course. And then just pretty much just make Maurice Hooker just very miserable. I know I already said that. But just make him very miserable, and make him, like, and then, like, make it hard for him to figure you out, and then I think that he would definitely have a good chance of winning if he does that. If he frustrates Hooker, makes him makes him very what was the word again? It was like make him make him uncomfortable in the inside. If you make him uncomfortable in the inside, and then use your work rate techniques and your ability to be a good pressure fighter, and use that against Maurice Hooker. And again, if he does that, he would have a very very good chance of winning. So yeah, so that's what Sergey needs to do to win. So my final prediction for this fight, if this fight happened, again, this would be a very, very, very good fight. This was actually a hard prediction to do, to be honest. Like it's very hard because just Maurice Hooker, again is a pretty decent boxer, and Sergey Lipinets is a very good work rate fighter with good pressure fighting, and he's a good really good body puncher. So that's what makes it very very difficult to predict. But if I would have to pick one, I would probably have to go with Maurice Hooker. It's more of because in like Lipinets' last fight, he was getting outclassed by Jaron Ennis, and he was just getting beaten the hell up by Jaron Ennis. I'm not saying that Maurice Hooker is nowhere near the skill level of Jaron Ennis, but he was just getting bullied by Jaron Ennis. He did hit him here and there. He did, hit the body, but he just couldn't do anything about the jab about of Jaron Ennis. He just couldn't do anything, about the slickness. He was just getting hit everywhere, and he just could not, tire, Jaron Ennis out, and he just couldn't, use this, He couldn't figure him out. And when you're fighting a guy like Maurice Hooker, that would be very, very tough for Sergey Lipinets. And that's why I would pick Maurice Hooker to win. And also, why I would pick Maurice also is because Maurice, again, is a very decent, boxer. So that's why I picked Maurice Hooker to win by a very, very close split decision. So yeah. So that's my final prediction. I got Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker by a very close split decision. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm Preston from Fight Media 360, and thank y'all for watching this video.